Your Hormonal Story, a podcast about real women and real stories, breaking down the stigma about hormonal conditions. Join us for an informal chat about women's health, the struggles, the solutions. I'm Jeff Butterworth, naturopath and women's health specialist for over 25 years. Everyone has a story, and we'd love to help you with your unique story. On this episode of Your Hormonal Story, we're discussing a contraceptive device called a Mirena. Now, in our online community with hundreds of thousands of women, it's always a very popular topic and quite a controversial one because half of the community find that their experiences with the Mirena have been really positive, while the other half are experiencing a whole range of mild to quite severe side effects. So this week we're chatting to Julie, who unfortunately has had quite a negative experience with the Mirena. So if you've had a Mirena, thinking about it, or currently have a Mirena, then this episode is a must watch for you. So join us now for this episode with Julie. So this week on Your Hormonal Story, we're chatting to Julie, who's got, like all of our ladies, a really rich history of different hormonal issues, and specifically relating to a device called the Mirena, which is an intrauterine device. So welcome, Julie, all the way from Paris.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Australia. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to have a chat with us. So I've got your story here and I've had a read through it. And the big thing that stands out is that when you had the Mirena intrauterine device inserted, then it really significantly changed your life. So do you want to just tell us or everyone a little bit about that and your experiences?
Okay. Well, I had the Mirena inserted after the birth of my second baby, not literally after, 6 months after, once my uterus was back to its normal size. It was great for the first 2 to 3 months. And I guess after 4 months, I started feeling sick and I started vomiting. And I would have these vomiting episodes that would last 2 to 3 days. That would last twice, and that was twice a month. And that lasted for, let's say, 3 years, I guess, because I had to go to every single doctor, gastro and whatever, and have all these exams, external exams, where everyone would say your stomach and your gastro is perfect. You have no significant disease or significant disorder that would explain that you're vomiting. Then I went to see a neurologist, and the neurologist said, oh, what you have is not a gastro issue, it's what we call digestive migraines. So instead of having a headache, you are throwing up, but the issue is neurological. And he says, oh, I don't know where it comes from. We don't really explain. It's called cyclic vomiting syndrome, which is the name, cyclic, remember the cycle? And so we don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know how to help. Maybe it's from stress, maybe it's from fatigue. I will give you something for the migraine, which is a complicated medicine because it can make you nauseous. Okay, great idea. And then it was really out of nowhere. I went to the pharmacy one day to get some medicine, and I'm throwing up again. She's like, don't you have your period? My pharmacist. And I said, no, I don't have my period. I have a Mirena. I never have my period. And she said, but that's funny because last month you came to get the medicine for your vomiting and I had my period, and you're coming now and I have my period. So it's funny because your vomiting is, copied on my cycle. And then I'm like, cyclic vomiting syndrome, cyclic syndrome. And then I look at my agenda, turns out I'm vomiting every 14 to 16 days. Ovulation, period time. Except I had none of these because I had the Mirena. So once I connected the dots, I went to my gyno, and he was like, well, some ladies hate it, some ladies love it. I'm very sorry, I will take it out right now, no worries. And I hope it changes your life. And it didn't. I took the Mirena out, but I continued to be sick for 1 year, for 2 years. I scoured the internet and I fell upon the wonderful page of Happy Hormones.
Well, let me jump in there, Julia, because I want to really unpack all this that's just happened there before we get to
that's a lot of
the story. So there's a couple of points here that I'd really sort of love to discuss. The first one is that many doctors, apart from your gynecologist, said that some women love it, some people hate it. Many doctors don't even accept the fact that there are side effects from the Mirena. And we often have ladies come in and say, my doctor said, no, that's completely non-related. It's something completely different, particularly when
it's in your head.
Exactly.
I've heard.
So, and this non-acceptance that a strong medication could cause these things is a big problem. And that comes about because the Mirena has a micro dose of progesterone. And this is the story that they tell you. But that micro dose is being exerted exactly where all those receptors are in the body for progesterone. So that micro dose has a really significant effect systemically. So they haven't quite accepted that fact. But again, the fact that so many women, and we see 50% of women love their Mirena and 50% can just destroy their lives like you. So very unfortunate. But the problem is and this is again why maybe a lot of doctors don't accept it, is just taking the Mirena out doesn't necessarily solve the problem, because it's created some really deep acting systemic imbalances. So tell me, apart from the happy hormones, how long did it take from when you had the Mirena removed? Was it till you found happy hormones?
I found happy hormones, I think maybe a year after I had the Mirena removed.
Right, and you still
Then I followed the group as a silent observer for a while, since I was in France, and by then you guys only had the powder. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so if I order the powder and I hate it, and then when the caps came out, I was like, okay, and I passed my order. I went through. What got me to the page was looking through the Mirena crash. I discovered that there was something called the Mirena crash. So I tried to do a detox, and that's how I arrived on the happy hormone page. And nothing else I did actually worked before.
See, it
was like the game changer.
Yeah. The thing that concerns me is that you had to, you're sitting in Paris, you're unraveling all this. You essentially had to diagnose this yourself to get any relief. And if you didn't have this pharmacist that maybe tweaked that interest, I'm sure you would have figured it out sooner or later. But
exactly,
you may then have gone back and had another Mirena, and this could really have significantly impacted your life for a very long time. So that's a real concern. And then from Paris to have to then somehow find us and then start to read and educate this stuff. Obviously, this information's not out there. And if you do start to Google and listen about Mirena crash, a lot of stuff starts to come up. And the first thing that comes up is actually all the lawsuits that are in the US about this device. And, and
the intracranial thing, that there's some people that have tumors.
There's a lot of
cranial tumors. It's crazy.
And as I said, the device is amazing, not healing potential, but way to kind of reduce symptoms for many women, as I said. But for those 50% of women that it really significantly can destroy their health, what is the risk reward? And personally, I always advocate is try all the natural options first. And we'll actually get to why you had the Mirena in the first place. But they're using Mirenas as contraceptive, and it really shouldn't be used as a contraceptive. There's too much risk of the issues that can come about from it. And if women are having it inserted for heavy bleeding, or there's a whole range of different issues, maybe it's endometriosis or adenomyosis, there's some conditions where it may actually be warranted, but these are severe conditions. But the problem is the medical profession are using the Mirena as a first option, and it really should be the second last option to often a hysterectomy. So this is why so many women are having so many problems. So unfortunately, like you.
Yeah. Right. I was actually lucky to meet with one of the doctors that works for Bayer in France.
Okay.
And he trains gynos with the Mirena. So needless to say, when I met him, I was like,
what did he say?
he was calm enough, and he was like, we are very conscious that women have issues. He says the problem is the gynos, they put it in and then they don't follow up. He says, when we train the gynos, we say you put it in, and 1 month later, you have an appointment with the lady, and you see if the lady is stressed, is crying, is having digestive issues, is starting to lose her hair, has gained kilos. And then you decide it's good for her or it's not. And he said, the issue is so many doctors don't do that follow-up. This is, and when they do that follow-up, and if one woman clicks one issue, you're supposed to remove it.
Really? Okay.
That was the speech I had from this specific person.
Because
who's the husband of my husband's cousin.
Okay. Because the rhetoric and the feedback we get from women is they go back to their doctor with these problems, and the doctor said, just give it time to settle in, just give it time to settle in. You need to give it 3 to 6 months for it to settle in. But
exactly.
Obviously,
that's what I see on the internet. And this guy said in France, when I see the doctors, they're like, in 6 weeks, the woman is not feeling good, take it out. It won't get better.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm like, well, you probably have to communicate more with the doctors.
Yeah. It's such a shame, because we're affecting women's health here in a significant way. Now, let me explain a little bit about this Mirena crash, because the feedback we get as well is a lot of doctors don't accept that this is an issue as well. Now, what happens is if you have a Mirena for, generally they last 5 to 7 years. So you would have to question, first of all, the ability of the device to release progesterone evenly over a 5 to 7 year period. So clearly what happens is in the first 3 to 6 months, you're getting a bigger hit of that progesterone. But the natural cycle of that device over 5 to 7 years, and eventually the progesterone levels are used up, and then they suggest, you relook at it or get another Mirena. Now, if there's this gradual reduction in the dose of progesterone that you're getting, your body naturally weans off that progesterone and starts to produce its own progesterone to a certain degree. If you have that progesterone, if the Mirena removed when it's not used that progesterone up, your body goes from the high impact of the progesterone on your uterus and systemically to 0. Now, what that effectively is because what the progesterone is doing, the Mirena doing, is mimicking pregnancy. So your body's thinking that it's pregnant this whole time. And when you remove it quickly like that, when you've got higher levels of progesterone from the Mirena in your system, it's effectively a miscarriage in the same terms of physiological effect. And that's what happens after a miscarriage. You go through these big highs of being essentially pregnant, then a crash. And it can have significant effects. And you only have to Google Mirena crash and you'll find hundreds of thousands of women that will say it's a situation, but most doctors say no, it's just all in your mind, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard about that. How I was told that because of the Mirena, my body doesn't want to produce its own progesterone. Is that something?
I would say is that
correct?
You are correct to a certain degree. Is whenever you give your body any hormone, your body's not silly. There's a very complex negative feedback loop, so that it will detect the levels of progesterone in your system and will automatically wind back your own internal production. So if you've been on a Mirena for 5 to 7 years, when you have it removed, certainly your own internal progesterone production will be reduced. Now, what that will often lead to is post-Mirena is then heavy periods, because progesterone is involved in regulating your menstrual cycle. So we often see women that have the Mirena put in for heavy periods, it further reduces their progesterone levels. When they have it taken out, then they really have a big problem. And then they put another Mirena back in, it's okay, but then issues start to happen. And then it's, you may be 10 years down the line with this device, and then you can really mess up your whole endocrine system through
it's such a vicious circle.
Yeah. And as I said, that there's going to be many women watching this going, well, I disagree because it's been the best thing ever for me. And we're not, I'm not trying to discourage women from using it as a solution, because it can be a great solution. My opinion is, if you're using it to treat a certain condition, try natural options first, because a lot of the time it will work. But if you're considering it as a contraceptive and I'm assuming this is why you had it inserted as a contraceptive.
Oh yeah.
Then there's I wouldn't say much better contraceptives, because all contraceptives come with potential side effects and issues, but the Mirena seems to have the biggest risk reward situation. You know, a lot of women love it because, no period, no symptoms, and fine for 5 years. And that's fabulous if that's the issue. But if you're having, we often see women that have had, 3-4 Mirenas, and then when you have it removed, your body's in such a deficient state of progesterone that a whole lot of other symptoms develop after that, and you often can be set up for a difficult menopause and so forth. So it's a real catch-22, and my heart goes out to all women that are put into this situation where you have to make these decisions either through contraceptive or through treatment options, that we're dealing with obviously devices and that have serious consequences like you experience. So were you offered any other form of contraception at that 6-month point? I'm interested to explore that.
No, my gyno's been following me since I was 20. He birthed my 3 babies. This was the second one. The baby, I was breastfeeding, so he's like, okay, you're gonna have to be careful. You're breastfeeding, how do you say retour de couche, when you get your period again after birth? What's it called? Back to period. I don't know. So he's like, you're very fertile right now, so you have to be careful. So I would think it's better if you have a contraceptive. So I'm like, yeah, sure, that's a great idea. So he said, well, you can take the microdose pill, which I'd already been on when I was younger, and I've never liked any kind of hormonal contraceptive. I've had issues for a while. The Mirena was like the top of it, but the pill made me, edgy and unhappy, and it wasn't a good on my mind. So like, I don't really want the pill. The baby's small. I'm not sleeping. I'm not sure it's gonna. I was like, oh, well, we have this new super device that's so cool. It's like an IUD. It's not the copper IUD where you're gonna bleed forever. It's microdosed. You don't have to care about it. It's good. Like, you won't get your period. It was like, awesome. Sure, it seems awesome. I love you. I love it. Put it in. Yeah. And that's how it went.
Yeah.
And the thing is, as I said, for the first few months, everything was going perfect. I was having no period, just a little spotting, no imbalance visible or anything. And then I started being sick and throwing up, and no one put the two together, Yeah. And that's like the visible side of the iceberg. I was gaining weight. I had no libido. I had spots, acne coming back. I had mood swings, terrible mood swings. Like, I'm lucky my family's still here with me after surviving 5 years with the Mirena.
Yeah. For other ladies listening, and you alluded to it there, is some women tolerate hormones reasonably well, and they don't have any symptoms and side effects. And that's generally because their liver function and digestive function are working well. It's because what happens is, and we're always talking about this, is something called hormone metabolism, and how your body takes those hormones that are in the system, breaks them down in the liver, and excretes them through the bowel. Now, if your body's doing that well, you're less likely to have those hormones be reabsorbed and then have 2 times, 3 times, 5 times effect of those hormones. So if you've had issues in the past with any form of pill, or whether it be an implanon or different other contraceptives, then more than likely you're going to have issues with the Mirena as well. So, and it's that underlying issue, and it probably should be a question that a lot of doctors ask, is how have you tolerated other hormone therapies? Because for me, it's a bit of a red flag that if you had issues in the past with any form of synthetic hormone, there's a pretty good reason that you're going to have a problem with the Mirena. But I think doctors have been misguided in that fact that it's microdosing and it's not systemic. It is very much systemic, as you can see from your case, because the signaling that is happening within your uterus is signaling to the rest of your body for your whole endocrine system to go haywire. So it's a big problem. The other thing that I've found, and I cannot verify this, but it's a little bit less now, but we've got a very good sense of what's happening in the community, because we've got hundreds of thousands of women in our groups, and you're a part of that, is, so we here, we've got our nose to the ground, so to speak. And there was a period about let's say between 5 and 3 years ago, where the Mirena was literally being prescribed for everything. And it was too much. It was like every single doctor was actively pushing this and being quite aggressive to women in terms of following up. You must get this. And they were obviously making a lot of money out of it or whatever. But what we saw is there was way too much eagerness to insert this device. So, and this is why there's so many women were forced into this corner, because all of a sudden it just became the flavor of the time. And now, since more information's come out, and I think more doctors have realized, some haven't, but unfortunately for many women, and we anticipate around 50% of women, and whenever we do posts around the Mirena, some lady puts it happens daily. You know, we get questions, you know, has this happened?
Yeah.
And obviously our groups are more pro-natural, but the stories that you see coming out in these, and it's not uncommon for us to have 400, 500, 800 comments from women on a single post about their experiences. And often, as I said, though, there's the pros and cons, but you know, other posts that we might have, we might get 40 or 50 comments. So it's a big issue in the community, and I thank you for speaking out and telling your story. So hopefully women can just put that seed of thought and do their own research and make their own informed decisions, so that they're not having to do what you did and actually self-diagnose that this was a problem for me.
And I mean, my story is very specific, and thank God everyone that has the Mirena doesn't have to have it that bad. But after I publicized my stories, as I said to my friends, many of my friends came out and said, oh, I had it, and I had it inserted, and I went crazy, and I called the gyno after a month and was like, take it out. I had this other person said, okay, I had it for 6 months and my hair started falling out. And I mean, there are lots and lots and lots of issues that are not as bad as mine, thank God, but that are maybe some little things that should alert you that maybe it's starting, maybe your imbalance is starting, and maybe it won't get to be as bad as me. I wish that for everyone, because you've noticed that something is not exactly the way it should be. And if something is ticking and something is like, if you feel something, usually there is something.
Yeah.
So to women who have the Mirena and they feel that they're off, they feel that they've changed, it's probably not you, it's probably the Mirena, you know?
Absolutely. And a lot of doctors won't take it out. We have stories from women.
I've heard the doctors are like, no, I won't take it out, it's in your mind or whatever. I was very lucky that my doctor was, okay, sure, no problem, I'll pull it out right now.
Yeah. You know, and women in this day and age shouldn't have to go through this. It's really shocking, and it's such a shame that we're still in this situation. And to be honest, I don't really see any improvement when it comes to women's health. There's very few options, and I think that's half the problem as well. Is there's very few options that doctors have. It's either hormones or it's antidepressants, or it's all in your mind. So it's such a shame, and you know, that's why we exist, to try and offer some alternate solutions, and we try and work as closely as we can with the medical community as well, so that women get the best outcome for whatever their particular individual situation. So you're still having these issues for a year after it was removed. Then you found the community. Tell me about that experience and how that helped you start to educate yourself a little bit.
Well, I mean, first the names. I think by then the group was called Happy Hormones and not Happy Healthy You.
Yeah.
So it was like happy. I mean, obviously I was attracted to the name, and then I started reading the stories, as you said. And then you're like, wow, everyone has these crazy stories. I mean, especially regarding the crash and the post-Mirena. And I would ask questions, and ladies from the community would answer, people from your team would answer. So it made me, it was very reassuring for me. I was in France, you guys were a company in Australia. I had no idea if you were legit or not. But then the community, the people on the group, the fact that your whole team of nurses and naturopaths are so accessible, even if you haven't ordered the product yet, you know, even if you're not yet a customer, you guys are available. So it was very reassuring for me to discover that even if I was like alone in France, because there probably are not that many French people on the group, I wasn't alone, you know. It was very important to discover that it wasn't just me that was having an issue and just me that reacted weirdly and just that me that was unlucky. No, it was like, it was like a international issue with women's health, you know?
No,
so that was pretty baffling to me to discover. As I say to people, like, I discovered a whole new world, you know?
Yeah, it's for those ladies that don't know us that might be listening to this, we moderate a really large private Facebook group with women only, about 180,000 women in it at the moment. And the beauty of that is we have our practitioner team moderating that group. But as you said, there's the women, it's the power of community that can educate other women and women supporting women, and those real life experiences. It's very, very powerful because 10 years ago, we didn't have this, and it's one of the great things about social media. There's a lot of negatives, but
but that's the positive.
That's one of the positives, and it's great that we can just serve that purpose to educate women on what's going on. And often what we try and do as well is to moderate that group so that the information is balanced and also it's professional as well. So often, you'll get some ladies that will say, maybe they've done something that we think is maybe dangerous, whatever. That's why the practitioner's there to support and maybe talk about that so that there's not that misinformation going out there as well. So, yeah. Okay, so then found the group, decided to order the product, and you ordered the powder. And
nah, I didn't order the powder. I waited for you to come out with the caps. Okay. I was so afraid to receive this huge tub of powder and be like, I can't stomach it. I was having vomiting issues. So sure. I could hardly stomach anything.
Yeah.
And then when you guys came out with the caps, so that was like, that was what made me, that was the, how do you say it? The purchase
easier. But it's
incentive, the caps that I could actually, I knew I would be able to stomach them.
Yeah. But it's a big leap of faith as well. Obviously ordering something from France, you're still not certain that it's your hormones, right? You've had it removed, but the problem's still occurring. So you're probably still wondering to yourself, this is a bit of a gamble. So you took that leap of faith, and then how long did it take before you started to feel yourself again?
So when my journey with happy hormones started out, how do you say, a bit complicated, because when I got the boxes, I think I started out with taking a too big dose for my issues. So I think I started out with 3, and it made me so much worse.
Yeah.
I was throwing up. So I remember I was talking, I think it was Paige at that time. And Paige was like, okay, no, your endocrine and your digestive system is so ruined that this is the detox provoked by the caps is way too strong for you. You've got to lower your dosage. So I went to 1, and then I went back to 2. And for maybe 2 months, I was in contact with your team to adjust my dose to make sure that it was making me feel better. And then I think it was probably 3 or 4 cycles that I went from vomiting before my period to just feeling nauseous. And then it was another couple of cycles, and you guys came out with the Happy Greens.
Yep.
Which is the fermented probiotic drink with greens.
Yep.
And I think adding that to my regimen was the game changer, because obviously from throwing up for so many years, I clearly had gut issues, microbiota and gut issues. My gut health was probably horrifying. And so when I added in the Happy Greens, there was another 2 cycles. So let's say basically between 6 and 7 cycles for me until 1 month get my period, and it arrived. I hadn't realized it was coming. No PMS, no nauseous, no lashing out at the husband, no crying in the morning, and suddenly, period. So I think it was probably, the add-on of the Happy Greens, and the total was 7 cycles.
Yeah. there's a couple of
But
things.
once again, it took longer for me than most women because I think my case was like.
Yeah. Well, yes and no is there's a couple of things I'd love to touch on there is the first one is just that when you're first getting started and that severity of your symptoms really needs to dictate the dosage with the happy hormones. And that's why we have our practitioner team there to help guide you through that. And you've done really well because a lot of women, they misconstrue feeling worse as a side effect of the medicine as opposed to what your body's doing to actually heal itself. So that action was too strong for you. The second thing is the happy greens improve your hormone metabolism, which is what I was talking about before. And we do suggest when you're first getting started, there's that combination of happy hormones, happy greens, because it helps with your digestive tract, and then happy liver, and they're the three things that kind of connect together. And if you start with the happy greens and the happy liver, you're much less likely to get that sort of detox reaction when you're getting started. So it's always good to start slow, but if you put those other two products there, it helps. And then if you then make those dietary changes we suggest with our either 8-week program or now it's a 7-day program you can start on, that makes a big difference too. And you put that system together and that journey's a lot easier. Then you mentioned and you measured it in terms of cycles, which I really like because we've been led into this sort of belief with sort of medicine that if I've got a headache, I take a pill and the symptom goes away. And a lot of people are expecting results in a week or, a few weeks. And if you read through all the reviews on the website, a very common theme is give it time, give it time. And that's why we say 3 months, 3 cycles, because 1 month is actually a very short period of time when you're thinking that there's a whole month of hormones and shifts and changes that we're dealing with. So certainly 3 months. And when it's severe like you, it might take 6 months before you start to really get back to your own self. So it's worth persevering. And the women that do persevere and then follow those other bits of advice from our team, you're going to get results in 95% of the time.
Yeah, obviously it doesn't work by itself.
No.
We can add that.
Yes.
You need to have some few changes to your lifestyle as well for the best.
100%. It's
but
because
you can't just pop the pills. Popping the pills won't make it magic.
Yeah, exactly. It's happy hormones or our products that just support tools. And if for you, it may or may not have been the situation, but often hormones are disrupted in the first place through poor diet and lifestyle choices, stress, medications. There's lots of reasons why the hormones are imbalanced. And we live in a toxic world, a stress world. People are not sleeping well. So you have to be aware. And what we're trying to do is educate women that, hormones are almost just, when they're out of balance, they're a symptom of that internal imbalance. So working on your overall health, then the hormones come back into balance. And that's why happy hormones is just a tool to help the body and signal to the body that, hey, we need to get our hormones back into shape now. So did you make many changes with your diet and lifestyle after reading stuff from the group and from the practitioners?
When I started out, the cure with the happy hormones, I did, it was a 28-day program, no?
Yep.
Wasn't it a 28-day?
We got the 28-day detox that we had, and there's a 28-day,
yeah, that was,
renamed that reset
I've been
program.
with you guys for a while, so I know the old things.
Yeah. So
I did that when I started out.
Right. Okay.
The green juices in the morning. I wasn't 100% following it. Remember, I was throwing up most of the time, so just eating was an issue. Yeah. But I tried, I added the daily exercise, was a big word, but daily moving your body, going outside, whether it's yoga or walking or just doing something.
Yeah.
So I added that in. I added the morning juice, and generally trying to eat more healthy, which is kind of complicated once you're out of a regime of saltine crackers and ginger ale. Yeah. Which was my regime while I was being sick for all these years.
Yeah.
So, I had to retrain my stomach and myself, but I definitely incorporated some of the advice that was given because I'd been through so much I tried to do my own detox with all the stuff that I read on the internet and those teas and those pills and those maca and those whatever and whatever. I can't even remember how much stuff I bought and tried and whatever. But I knew that there was no magic. I had gotten to the point where I knew there was no magic and there needed to be change on the internal side of me, as well as just and on my mind as well. Like, I'm deciding to be better, and even if it's painful and even if it's an effort, I need to do this to be better, or else I will never get better. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. You've done a phenomenal job. When I think about the symptoms that you were suffering from, how you managed to self-diagnose that, and then a lot of what we suggest is not easy. So to do all that with a couple of young children is incredible. And sort of what we do is, a lot of people don't realize, is me being a naturopathic physician, all of our team, what we offer is, as you said, you tried all sorts of different stuff, is we package together the best of the best, so to speak, and what you would get if you went and saw a naturopath. So you're getting all that advice and support without having to go and see a naturopath. And it's, you know, there's pros and cons to seeing a naturopath or not, but what you get by doing it in our way is we give you the information, but you've got to learn it. So you've got to take that on board. Whereas often if you're under a practitioner, you're being sort of told and guided along the way, whereas you're learning. So now, and this is your health journey, you're in such a more powerful position in understanding your hormones, understanding what your body needs and doesn't need, and how to manage your hormones. And that's our passion, trying to find young women that are just starting out and teach them exactly what you've learned, so that they've got those tools for the rest of their life, because hormones don't go away. And guaranteed at some point through stress or pregnancy or menopause, perimenopause, their hormones are going to go out of balance at some point. So education is power, and that's our motto.
Yeah. I think menopause is probably my biggest fear today, to be honest. But thank God that I know you guys and that you'll be following me along the way.
Yeah, but see, you're doing, and we chatted last week to a lady going through perimenopause, is you're doing the right thing now. There's a lot of women wait and they say, oh, I'm not going to take these products till I hit menopause, but it's not too late, but you're doing yourself an injustice. And if you can start, and you've already started, you're prepping your body, and your body's, there's a transition that your body goes through from perimenopause to menopause, that there's lots of little subtle changes that occur. And if you let your body go through those changes, your body transitions naturally. But if you block it with things like Mirena and contraceptives and different hormone treatments and stuff like that, it becomes a much more rocky road, because the body's not transitioning as it is intended, because your hormone production, natural hormone production, is turned off. All right, there's one.
I'll be honest with the, can I just add? I'll be honest with the ladies listening. I haven't been perfect. I'm not exercising every day and eating perfectly every day. And I will let you know, when I'm not being perfect for a while, my health gets worse. My symptoms come back a little bit. The nausea creeps back up. My mood swings come back a little. As soon as I go off my happy hormones, stop the exercise, or start eating shitty food. So, I mean, you don't have to be perfect. No one is. And your body will tell you when you need to get back on track. Mine does, and I'm sure everyone else's will.
No, that's great advice. And you don't have to do everything we say. It's finding your sweet point of that.
Exactly.
And how you need to do. And particularly just the 8-week program we had, it's just a guide. And if you do one thing or you do all of it, if you do all of it, the results are going to be faster and more permanent. But if you can just implement some things, more fermented foods, for example, the exercise, then that's really good as well. So, well done.
Because it can be overwhelming, you're a mom, or you're not a mom, or you have your work or your kids or whatever, and suddenly it seems like so much to do, and that you're never actually going to do it, and then you might as well not do it. Well, You're wrong. Do it a little, and then you'll do it a little more, and it will change.
Yeah. And it's overwhelming as well, because you through luck or guidance, you found our approach, but to find, it's a minefield out there. If you've got problems with your hormones, you go and see your doctor and they do a 10-minute consultation and tell you it's all in your head, or you walk away with hormones or a Mirena or antidepressants. Or you get online and you Google and it's just a minefield. You've got no idea what to do. Or you talk to your girlfriends, and often your girlfriends say, well, hey, did you hear about happy hormones? Or I tried this. But what we try to do is just put it all together for you. And then at least you don't have to think too hard about it. You can, and I'd encourage anyone out there listening, join the community and just sit and watch. And we have women that sit and watch in there for years and years and years. And then finally they'll take that, and they kick themselves, why did it take them so long? But it's that education journey, and it's everyone has their own health journey. So but it can be really difficult to find the right options, and you can waste a lot of money and a lot of time, and it doesn't work. And that might put you off natural options as well. You say, I tried all these natural options, but they were either the wrong ones or it wasn't put together with a program. So no, you've done exceptionally well. So I wanted to touch into that because you're vomiting, you've got 2 young kids, you're moody, irritable. Tell me about the family and your partner, husband, how they coped with all this.
As I said, it's a surprise they're still here. I mean, it was just the worst period for me. I was throwing up all the time. I ended up having a burnout from work, having to stop working, because I couldn't deal with being in the office and puking. I had to be hospitalized like every other month because the vomiting was so bad. Wow. To rehydrate me just, because I was being dehydrated from just... no one knew what I had. Everyone was like, oh, you have to go see this gastrointestinal disorder, whatever doctor. You have to go see, make this exam that they're going to put a camera in your belly button or whatever. I mean, I went through like the whole system. I was like, oh no, you're perfect. Oh no, you're perfect. Oh no, nothing's wrong. Oh no, nothing's wrong. And my husband, I mean, people were starting to think like maybe I was going a bit cuckoo, because nothing was wrong with me. But I was vomiting. But why is she vomiting? Because nothing is wrong with her. So it was kind of a strain on my entourage. It was very painful, I think, for my husband. I was totally up and down. I was like going crazy. I had like the worst PMS, except I wasn't having my period, so we had no idea that it was PMS. It was a
tough time.
It was tough, and it was such a revolution when I discovered that there was a reason for me to feel like that. And then it was such a breakthrough when I found something that would make me feel better. I went through like a lot of breakthrough moments.
Yeah. It's a couple of things.
You can't live your life like that. People don't have to live with you like that. It's unsufferable.
Yeah, you don't have to suffer in silence. That's a common thing we're always saying, but a lot of people do. There's a couple of things on that. One is the fact that no one believed you, that started to question your mental stability.
I did too,
because you've been told nothing's wrong with you. And we see women with endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome, just because they haven't got a diagnosis, then it's all in their mind. And that's such a difficult thing for people to cope with. And the second part of that is, and this is really important for anyone listening here, is the reason why you were feeling so mentally unstable, the mood swings, the anger, the irritability, is from a physical reason. It's not a mental. You're not mentally insane. You don't need to be committed to a psychological ward. It's a physical reason. It's your hormones. And this is never talked about. And there's there's definitely mental conditions, chronic mental conditions of schizophrenia and depression that are psychological, but it's understanding that many times there's the way you feel, it's not a mental feeling, it's a physical cause. And when women can understand that it's my hormone, then you can take proactive steps to start to balance your hormones. Otherwise you end up on anxiety medications, antidepressants, and it's just a band-aid for really what's going on underneath. So.
Yeah. While I was throwing up, I had someone put me on some kind of medication that was like it was a double medication that was anti-spasmodic, like to stop the spasms in the stomach, and an anti-anxiety. It's like a double pill. But that wasn't changing anything. I mean, sure, it would have if that had been my issue, but my issue came from somewhere else. But yeah, people will give you Prozac or Xanax or whatever and be like, yeah, sure, you're having mental issues. But no, you're probably not.
Yeah. But unfortunately, there's probably, for every situation like yours where you find the solution, there's hundreds that don't. And it goes down, it just gets worse and worse. Many women end up with hysterectomies. And, you know, we're talking about fairly significant surgeries, and the quality of life that women are having is really, really, really poor. And my heart goes out every single day when we read stories and hear from women that had to go through this. And it's such a shame. So hopefully you telling your stories can change or lead one lady in the right path, and she can make those changes too.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a full advocate for happy hormones. I mean, I've seen naturopaths in Paris, France too, and I gave them the boxes of your products. So like they know what I'm taking, and they're always so impressed. Just, I mean, I'm not throwing flowers or anything. I am kind of, but they're like, wow, yeah, they know the different compounds that you've put in it. Obviously they're naturopaths, they know what they're doing. But the fact that someone actually came up and put it all together, and they're like, you know?
Well, we're just making it accessible because,
but that's talking in France, you know, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm a naturopath, but it can be really time consuming, expensive for people to do. So we sort of took everything that I was doing in my own private practice and kind of packaged it together so women can, and then brought in the practitioners, our support team around that. So, you know, we live in a digital world now, so it makes sense that, and we've been, you know, as a naturopath, I would never have been able to help hundreds of thousands of women, but we can with this way. So it's a win-win for everyone. So yeah, it has been a real pleasure.
Making me emotional, but yeah, very much.
It is, and you know, I feel it every single day because we live and breathe this stuff, and it's, you know, my heart goes out to the women that are silently sitting all around the world at the moment, going through similar stories to you and multiple other stories that don't have those solutions. So that's why we're on a mission to help as many people as we can. But the great news for you is this story of redemption, and you've got now 3 healthy, happy kids, and you know, you're on the right path. And I love these stories of redemption. So
I'm sure, by the way, I took my happy hormones to the maternity ward with me, because after checking in with you guys, I knew that I was allowed to take them after my pregnancy. Mm-hmm. And I am intimately persuaded that I did not suffer from postpartum depression because I was on HH. Yeah. Because I had the worst pregnancy, and it was really complicated when the baby got here, and I was a wreck. Yeah. And I think if I hadn't had the happy hormones, I mean, I'm no doctor, but I really feel that it helped me so much to avoid tougher times at that moment.
Yeah, it's happy hormones it's not a cure-all. It's definitely not. It's just a tonic that full of really nice, adaptogenic, safe herbal medicines that just, you know, support a woman's body. And it's not rocket science that at different times of your life you need that support, whether it's, you know, postpartum, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, whether it's post-Mirena. These are just tools in your arsenal to help manage your hormones naturally. So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I won't take too much more of your time, Julie. It's been a real pleasure, and I love chatting to you and your passion and your journey. And again, I just have to congratulate you, because really the path that you've walked is a difficult one, and it's a difficult one to find all the way from Paris to there. So you've been guided, and you've guided yourself, and well done. You're reaping the rewards of all your hard work now. So
I want to thank you, because happy hormones made a happy Julie, and you guys changed my life. And I don't think there are many people that you can say that to. So thank you, really. No, and I hope ladies listening, you will make the change to change your lives if you need to, because it's possible.
Well, that's our logo, is changing lives. And it might seem like a big claim, but it's true. And we hear it every day. So that's why we say it. So thank you. And obviously, any other help and advice, you know where to find us, and the team are there to help you 24/7. So thanks again for spending time to chat with us today.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, bye now.